Elias Carter wiped the sweat from his brow as he stared at the horizon of Aurora 7. The planet was beautiful, in a strange and alien way. Vast purple plains stretched into the distance, and the twin suns painted the sky in shades of gold and violet. Yet despite the beauty, it was lonely. Elias had been stationed here for 6 months, tasked with studying the planet's unusual flora. His team had long gone back to Earth due to rotation, leaving him alone. He sighed, adjusting the straps of his backpack. Just another quiet night, he muttered to himself. That's when the sky split with a sudden blinding light. A streak of energy tore across the atmosphere and crashed into the nearby valley with a deafening roar. Elias's heart jumped. He ran toward the smoke and fire, adrenaline coursing through him. When he reached the crash site, the smell of burnt metal filled the air. Twisted pieces of a small alien craft littered the ground. Then, among the wreckage, he saw it. A small figure struggling to move. It was a child unlike any creature he had ever seen. Its skin was pale blue, with soft patterns that glowed faintly in the twilight. Its eyes were large and golden, reflecting fear and confusion. Elias froze. "Hey. It's okay. I won't hurt you," he said softly, kneeling at a safe distance. The child flinched, trembling, and let out a tiny whimper. It didn't speak in any language he knew. Its voice was a strange musical sound that echoed faintly, almost like a song. The wind shifted, carrying the smell of scorched metal and smoke. Elias noticed the child had a small tear in its clothing, and one of its legs was scratched and bleeding. He took a cautious step closer, showing his hands clearly. "I'm Elias, I'll help you." For a long moment the child just stared at him, eyes wide and unblinking. Then it took a hesitant step forward. It spoke a single word, soft, musical, but somehow familiar. Elias tilted his head. "What did you say?" The child repeated it, a little louder. Elias's stomach twisted. Somehow, that word, from this alien being, translated in his mind as "Father." Elias blinked. "Father?" he whispered, feeling a strange warmth in his chest. He had never wanted children, not seriously. But this small, fragile creature had a look of hope in its eyes, as if it had been waiting for someone. And somehow, that someone was him. The child stumbled and fell, and Elias rushed forward, scooping it into his arms. "It's okay. You're safe now," he said. Its body was light, almost weightless, but the warmth of its small, trembling frame hit him like a spark. Something deep inside him shifted. Something he had never felt before. Protection. Responsibility. Back at the outpost, Elias cleaned the child's scratches and wrapped it in a blanket. He offered water, and after a long hesitation, the child sipped carefully. It looked at him with big, trusting eyes, tilting its head as if trying to understand this strange human world. Elias sat on the floor, leaning against the wall, and studied the child. "I don't know where you're from or how you got here," he said softly, "but I promise I'll help you." He paused. "I don't know if I'm ready for this, but I guess it doesn't matter. You need me, and I'll be here." The child reached out a tiny hand, brushing against his arm. Elias swallowed hard. "Okay," he whispered. I'm your father, for now. That's what you called me, right?" The child nodded faintly. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Enough to make Elias feel something he had never known. A connection that went beyond words, beyond reason. He looked at the stars through the outpost window and felt a strange thrill. He was no longer just a lonely engineer on a distant planet. He had a purpose now, a life intertwined with this small alien being who trusted him completely. Night fell, and the twin suns disappeared behind the horizon. Elias and the child sat quietly, the faint glow of the child's skin illuminating the room. Elias tried to think about what to do next. He didn't have answers. He didn't know what dangers lay ahead, or how to care for a being from a completely different species. But he knew one thing. He couldn't leave it behind. Not when it had called him father. Outside, the wind howled across the plains, carrying the soft whispers of Aurora 7's strange wildlife. Elias wrapped a protective arm around the child and whispered, "We'll figure it out together." For the first time in months, he felt hope. Not the hollow hope of surviving another lonely day on an alien world, but a deep, grounding hope. The kind that comes when you realize someone is counting on you, when someone needs you more than you realize you need them. The child rested its head on his shoulder, and for the first time since arriving on Aurora 7, Elias felt at peace. The crash had brought more than chaos and danger. It had brought him a new life, a new responsibility, and a bond that neither time nor distance could break. And in that quiet outpost, under the twin suns that had long seemed indifferent, Carter understood that his life, and perhaps the life of all humanity, had changed forever. Elias woke to the soft glow of Aurora 7's twin suns spilling into the outpost. The alien child, whom he now called Lumo, was sitting up on the blanket, eyes wide and curious, staring at him. Elias smiled, stretching his stiff muscles. He had spent the night thinking about Lumo, about how fragile and alone this child must feel in a strange world. "Good morning," he said softly. Lumo tilted its head, mimicking the words as best as it could. The attempt was clumsy, but Elias's heart warmed. This was the first small bridge between their two worlds. Breakfast was simple, some rehydrated food from the outpost supplies. Elias handed Lumo a small portion, and the child sniffed it suspiciously before trying it. The moment it realized the food was safe, a tiny glow spread across its skin, a sign Elias now recognized as Lumo's version of happiness. "See?" Elias chuckled. "It's good. You like it?" Lumo looked up at him, blinking golden eyes, then repeated the word "good" in its alien way. Elias grinned. Progress communication would not be easy. Lumo's language was musical, almost like a song, while Elias spoke in simple, direct words. But over the next few hours, he began creating a system: gestures, basic words, and simple sounds. He taught Lumo water, safe, and yes. Lumo quickly learned to point or nod, responding to Elias's instructions. As they worked, Lumo occasionally shivered or looked around nervously. Elias knew the child remembered something dangerous or sad from its past. He didn't push. Instead, he offered comfort, gentle words, and patience. Lumo slowly leaned against him, showing trust in the human who had called himself father. During a quiet moment, Elias pulled out a notebook and pencil. "Do you want to draw?" he asked. Lumo tilted its head and hesitated, then took the pencil in its small, delicate fingers. It drew strange shapes and swirling patterns, symbols that seemed to move with a light of their own. Elias studied them, fascinated. "These are your stories?" he asked. Lumo nodded, glowing softly. Through sketches and hesitant gestures, Elias began to understand pieces of Lumo's world. Its home planet was full of glowing forests, shimmering rivers, and creatures that moved like liquid light. But there was also danger, shadowy shapes that lurked at the edges of Lumo's memories, chasing the child and its kind. Elias felt a pang in his chest. "You've been through so much, haven't you?" he said softly. Lumo reached out, touching his cheek, and for a moment the weight of its fear and loss seemed to flow into him. Elias swallowed hard. Protecting this child was no longer a choice. It was a responsibility he could not ignore. As the days passed, Elias realized that caring for Lumo was more than just keeping it alive. It was about understanding. He began to notice small details. How Lumo responded to certain colors, how its skin glowed brighter when it felt safe, and how it hummed softly when calm. Elias mimicked the humming, and Lumo's glow strengthened. It was a silent language of trust. Elias also discovered that Lumo had extraordinary abilities. It could sense danger in subtle ways, like a tremor in the ground or the shift of the wind. It reacted to things Elias couldn't yet see. One day, while exploring a nearby cave for samples, Lumo froze and let out a sharp warning sound. Moments later, a small rock slide crashed down where they had just been standing. Elias realized that Lumo had saved their lives without words, purely through instinct and awareness. Despite these remarkable traits, Lumo was still very much a child, curious, playful, and prone to sudden bursts of energy. Elias found himself laughing more in these days than he had in months. When Lumo discovered a small stream outside the outpost, it jumped and splashed, giggling in its own alien way. Elias joined in, feeling the warm water splash across his hands. For a brief moment, the worries of survival and danger melted away, leaving only joy. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, Elias sat with Lumo on the outpost balcony. "I don't know what's going to happen next," he admitted. "I don't even know where your family is or if they're still alive." Lumo reached out, holding his hand, and Elias felt a bond stronger than any words. Suddenly, a flicker of movement in the distance caught Elias's eye. A shadow passed over the plains, a mechanical glint that reflected the fading sunlight. He squinted, heart pounding. "Stay close," he whispered. Lumo leaned against him instinctively, as if it sensed the danger before he did. Elias realized then that their peaceful days might be short-lived. Whatever had brought Lumo to Aurora 7, or whoever was looking for it, would not rest. But for now, in the quiet glow of the alien sunset, he felt a strange confidence. He had faced changes before, but never. The day had begun like any other. Elias and Lumo had spent the morning exploring the nearby plains, collecting samples of Aurora 7's strange plants. Lumo, glowing faintly in excitement, hopped from one colorful shrub to another, mimicking Elias's careful steps. The child was learning quickly, and Elias could see the spark of curiosity in its golden eyes. But as the sun climbed higher, Elias noticed something strange. The wind carried an unfamiliar sound, a mechanical hum, low and steady, like metal. Moving across stone, he froze. Lumo stopped as well, tilting its head toward the distant noise. "They're here," Elias whispered. His stomach tightened. He had hoped their peaceful days would last longer, but now the threat that Lumo had sensed from the start was real. He scanned the horizon and saw faint glints of metal, small robotic scouts moving through the plains, heading toward the outpost. Elias grabbed Lumo gently. "We need to go back. Now." Lumo's hands clung to him, trusting completely, and Elias felt the weight of that trust like a fire in his chest. Whoever or whatever these machines were, they were hunting Lumo. Back at the outpost, Elias began fortifying the entrance. He dragged heavy metal containers to block doors and windows and activated the outpost's emergency lights. "Stay close to me," he told Lumo. "I'll protect you. I promise." The mechanical scouts approached, scanning the ground. Their sensors glowed red, searching for signs of movement. Elias held his breath, watching as they moved closer. Lumo's small hand gripped his arm. "It's okay," Elias whispered. "We can do this." Suddenly, one scout's sensors locked onto the outpost. A loud alarm blared, echoing across the plains. Elias's heart raced. "They know we're here," he muttered. Lumo's glow intensified, pulsing with fear and anticipation. Elias realized that hiding alone would not work. He had to act, and fast. He scanned the outpost for anything he could use. His eyes landed on the research lab's experimental tools, portable energy emitters, magnetic clamps, and a few small explosives meant for controlled tests. An idea formed. He could use the terrain, combined with these tools, to create traps. Lumo's instincts could help him sense danger before it struck. Elias worked quickly. He set up the first trap near the main entrance, a magnetic field that would pull the scouts' metal limbs, slowing them down. The second trap used a small controlled explosion to block the hallways if they entered. Lumo watched, glowing faintly, as Elias explained each step with gestures and simple words. Safe, danger, go. As the first scout reached the outpost, it triggered the magnetic trap. Its metallic arms jerked violently and it toppled onto the ground, sparks flying. Lumo giggled softly, though Elias didn't relax. There were more scouts, and they would not stop. The second wave of scouts moved cautiously, scanning for movement. Elias whispered to Lumo, "Stay behind me. Trust me." He led the child through a narrow corridor, carefully guiding them past the traps. The scouts activated their sensors, but each trap slowed them, buying precious time. Finally, they reached the top observation deck where Elias had prepared a last line of defense, a concentrated energy beam aimed at the entrance. The scouts advanced, confident they would capture the child, but as they stepped into the beam's path, sparks erupted. One scout toppled backward, disabling the others behind it. Elias exhaled slowly, turning to Lumo. "That's it. For now, we're safe." Lumo's glow dimmed slightly, signaling relief, and it reached up to hug him. Elias held the child tightly, feeling both pride and worry. This was the first time they had faced real danger together, and survived. As the night settled, Elias kept watch from the observation deck, Lumo resting beside him. He thought about what had just happened. These machines weren't random. They had been sent for a reason. Someone, somewhere, wanted Lumo, and if these scouts were only the first wave, then greater dangers were coming. "I don't know who's after you," Elias said softly, "but I'll stop them. I promise you're not alone anymore." Lumo's small hand reached out, touching his cheek, a silent affirmation of trust. Elias realized something profound. Humans had always survived through courage, ingenuity, and the willingness to protect what mattered most. These traits, honed over thousands of years, were now being tested in the stars. He was not just an engineer anymore. He was a protector, a father in the truest sense of the word. The rest of the night passed quietly. Elias and Lumo reinforced the outpost, creating alarms and safe zones. They shared stories and simple lessons using gestures, sketches, and the limited words Lumo had learned. In those quiet moments, Elias felt hope. Despite the danger, despite the unknown, they were together, and that was enough to face the night. By the next morning, the scouts had retreated. Elias guessed they would return, stronger and more prepared, but now he understood something crucial. Lumo's instincts, combined with human creativity, made them a team unlike any other. The child's abilities, once fragile and uncertain, were becoming a form of silent power, amplified by trust and guidance. Elias watched Lumo play near the outpost, its small glowing form moving with confidence. The child had survived its first real danger on a foreign planet, and Elias had survived his first trial as a father to something truly alien. Together they were learning, growing, and preparing for the challenges ahead. Elias knew that this was only the beginning. The universe was vast, filled with wonders and dangers. But in that moment, he felt an unshakable resolve. No matter what came next, he would protect Lumo. He would guide the child, teach it, and stand beside it in the face of any threat. Because some bonds were stronger than fear, stronger than danger, stronger than anything the universe could throw at them. And as Aurora 7's twin suns rose once more, painting the plains in shades of violet and gold, Elias whispered to Lumo, "We'll face it all. Together." Lumo glowed in response, a small, brilliant light that mirrored the hope in Elias's heart. The morning sky of Aurora 7 glowed with soft shades of gold and violet as Elias packed his supplies. Lumo hovered nearby, small hands touching objects curiously, glowing faintly in anticipation. Elias knew that staying on the planet was no longer safe. The scouts that had come for Lumo would return stronger and more organized. They needed to leave. Fast. "I know this is scary," Elias said gently, "but we have to go. There's a safe place, a station where others like you can be protected." Lumo tilted its head, understanding more in gesture and expression than words. Its small hand reached for Elias's, and he held it tightly, feeling the bond between them strengthen. Elias led Lumo to the small shuttle he had repaired during his months on Aurora 7. The craft was modest but functional, capable of long-distance travel, though not without risk. He double-checked the engines and navigational systems, then glanced down at Lumo. "Ready?" he asked. Lumo nodded, eyes wide with both curiosity and trust. The launch was smooth, the shuttle lifting from Aurora 7's planes with a soft rumble. Elias kept his hands steady on the controls while Lumo pressed its glowing hands against the console, fascinated by the lights and sounds. For a moment, the child's curiosity made Elias laugh. It reminded him that even in danger, there could be joy. Their journey through space was not easy. Aurora 7's location was far from established trade routes, and the nearest safe station was on the edge of the Human-Alien Coalition territories. Elias navigated asteroid fields and areas of cosmic radiation, relying on both skill and intuition. Lumo watched everything, occasionally alerting him to subtle changes in gravity or vibrations he might have missed. "You're amazing," Elias whispered, glancing at the child. "I don't know how you do that, but it's helping us stay alive." Lumo's glow brightened, as if acknowledging the praise. Elias realized that Lumo's instincts were a gift, an alien, skill amplified by trust and courage. Together, they were a team unlike any other. One evening, as they passed through a dense asteroid belt, the shuttle's sensors detected movement. Pirates. Small, fast ships with jagged hulls, hunting travelers, for cargo or ransom. Elias's heart skipped a beat. "Stay calm, Lumo," he said, adjusting the shuttle's course. Lumo pressed its tiny hands to the console, sensing the danger before any alarms went off. The pirates approached quickly, but Elias used the shuttle's maneuverability and some clever tricks he had learned on Aurora 7. He timed the craft's movements perfectly, dodging asteroids and using the natural cover of space debris. Lumo's glowing hands helped him sense subtle shifts in the shuttle, guiding him with an almost magical intuition. Together, they evaded the attackers, finally reaching the edge of the asteroid field safely. Breathing heavily, Elias looked at Lumo. "You saved us," he said, his voice filled with awe. Lumo's soft hum was the only response, but Elias understood. The child had begun to trust him as much as he trusted it, and that trust was their greatest weapon. As days turned into nights in the endless darkness of space, Elias began teaching Lumo more than survival. He taught it simple human concepts. Numbers, words, the names of planets, and stories of Earth. Lumo absorbed everything with quick understanding, glowing brighter when it grasped a new idea. Elias realized that the child's intelligence, combined with its instincts, could become a bridge between humans and alien species. One night, as they approached the outskirts of Coalition space, Lumo suddenly tensed, glowing sharply. Elias followed its gaze and saw a massive storm of cosmic energy ahead, a swirling field of radiation and magni. The Coalition station was unlike anything Elias had ever seen. Towering structures of metal and glass stretched into the sky, and beings of every imaginable shape and size moved through corridors, exchanging greetings and supplies. Lumo's golden eyes glowed in wonder, its small hands tracing the shapes of alien architecture as they walked. "This is amazing," Elias whispered, holding Lumo's hand gently. "You're going to be safe here. You'll have friends and people who understand you." Lumo looked up at him, tilting its head. The glow of its skin brightened in a way Elias now recognized. It meant joy. Elias smiled. For the first time since finding the child on Aurora 7, he felt a measure of peace. They were guided to a special area of the station, a serene environment designed to feel like home for various alien species. Soft, glowing plants lined the corridors, and gentle pools of water reflected the artificial sun above. Lumo's eyes widened as it stepped inside, exploring cautiously but curiously. "Stay close," Elias said, crouching to Lumo's level. "I'll be right here. You're safe with me." Lumo nodded, pressing its tiny hand against his cheek. Elias felt a warmth unlike anything he had experienced. Soon, a group of alien caretakers approached, They were similar in appearance to Lumo, but taller and more mature. Their eyes were golden like Lumo's, and their skin had the same faint bioluminescent patterns. Lumo froze for a moment, then ran forward with small, quick steps. "Lumo!" one of the aliens called in a soft, melodic voice. Lumo answered with a squeak, glowing brighter, and leapt into their arms. Elias watched silently, a mix of happiness and bittersweet emotion swelling in his chest. The alien caretaker looked at Elias with gratitude. "You found it," she said. "You saved our child. We cannot thank you enough." Elias shook his head. "I didn't save it alone. Lumo. It's remarkable. Brave, smart, and amazing. I just protected it until it could be with you." The caretaker smiled, her eyes filled with warmth. "You did more than that. You gave it hope when it had none. That is something no one else could have done. You have become part of our story, human." Elias felt a lump in his throat. He had not thought of himself as a hero. He had only acted out of instinct, out of a desire to protect this fragile life. And yet, in the eyes of Lumo's species, he had done something extraordinary. Over the next few days, Elias spent time learning about Lumo's world through the caretakers. They told stories of their civilization, of the dangers that had scattered their people across the stars, and of the shadowy hunters that pursued their children. Elias listened intently, realizing how fragile life could be in the galaxy, and how strong trust and care could make it. Lumo, meanwhile, adapted quickly to the station. It played with others of its kind, learning social gestures and communication methods. But every time it glanced at Elias, its glow brightened. The bond they shared was undeniable, and even among its own species, Lumo seemed to carry a piece of Elias with it. One evening, the caretakers invited Elias to a small gathering, a meeting of different species who had all been affected by the hunters. As Elias entered, he realized that Lumo's arrival had inspired something remarkable. The room was filled with beings who had once felt helpless, who had lost children or loved ones, and now, seeing Lumo and Elias together, they felt hope. "Human," one elder said, bowing slightly, "you have shown that compassion and courage are not limited to your species. You have reminded us that even in the darkest times, there is light. You have become part of the bridge between our worlds." Elias felt a sense of pride and humility. He had never sought recognition, never imagined himself as a symbol. But now he understood something vital. Actions of care, bravery, and empathy could resonate across species, inspiring trust and unity. Later, Elias walked through the observation deck, Lumo beside him, glowing softly. "You're going to be okay here," he said quietly, "but I'll always be nearby. We'll find ways to visit to stay connected." Lumo pressed its hand against his cheek, a silent promise that their bond was unbroken. Suddenly, Lumo paused and pointed toward the outer window. Elias looked and saw small ships approaching, the shadows of other alien species, cautiously curious. Lumo's glow brightened, and Elias realized that the child had become a symbol of hope, not just for its own kind, but for others as well. Its survival and courage had inspired unity, bridging divides that had lasted centuries. The caretaker approached Elias. "You see, human," she said, "your actions have shown our people that we are not alone. That trust and compassion can overcome fear. You are a part of something much larger now." Elias swallowed, feeling the weight of responsibility. He had only acted out of care for one child, yet his choice had created ripples that reached across the stars. Lumo, sensing his thoughts, pressed its small hand against his heart. Elias smiled, understanding without words that the bond they shared was eternal. As the station's artificial night fell, Elias and Lumo sat together near a glowing pond, watching reflections ripple across the water. Elias reflected on how far they had come, from the lonely plains of Aurora 7 to a station filled with hope and life. He realized that humanity's greatest strength was not in weapons or technology, but in courage, compassion, and the willingness to protect those who could not protect themselves. And as Lumo leaned against him, softly glowing in trust and contentment, Elias knew that their story was far from over. There were still dangers to face, still lessons to learn, and still journeys to make. But together, human and alien, they had discovered the true power of connection, one that could inspire the galaxy and prove that kindness and bravery transcended every boundary. Elias smiled, holding Lumo close. "We've come so far," he whispered. "And this is just the beginning." And in that quiet moment, amid stars and alien lights, a human and an alien child understood something profound: that love, trust, and courage could create a legacy stronger than any threat, uniting worlds and hearts across the galaxy. The Coalition station was quiet in the early light of Aurora 9's twin suns. Elias watched Lumo play among its new friends, glowing softly as it laughed in its own alien way. The child had grown confident and happy, safe among those who shared its kind and those who now trusted humans because of him. Yet, despite the peace, a small pang tugged at Elias's heart. He had come to love Lumo not only as a protector, but as a father. The bond they shared could not be measured in words. Every glance, every touch, every small glow of its skin reminded him that life could be fragile, yet extraordinary. He had saved the child, but the child had also saved him, bringing purpose and hope back into his life. The station's elder approached him. "Human," she said, bowing slightly, "your presence here has changed everything. Our people have begun to trust humans. We have learned that bravery and compassion do not belong to one species alone." Elias nodded. "I never expected any of this. I only wanted to protect Lumo." "And yet," the elder said, "your actions will echo through the galaxy. You have reminded us all that care and courage can unite worlds." As they spoke, Lumo ran over to Elias, glowing brightly, holding a small gift it had made. A delicate sculpture of the two of them together, etched in glowing crystal. Elias smiled, taking it gently. "I'll keep this forever," he said softly, touched by the gesture. Later, Elias walked along the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Ships of different shapes and sizes moved in the distance. Humans, aliens, and hybrids of technology he had never seen. The universe was vast, full of life, danger, and possibility. And now he realized humanity had a place in it, not as conquerors, but as protectors, as allies, as beings capable of bridging worlds. Lumo joined him, small hands clutching his arm. Its glow was steady, a sign of trust and happiness. Elias smiled. "We've come so far, little one. From a lonely planet to here. I never imagined this journey." Lumo tilted its head, then pressed its glowing hand to his chest. Elias felt warmth and understanding flow between them. No words were necessary. They had faced storms, dangers, and uncertainty together, and had emerged stronger. The elder returned, accompanied by several caretakers. "We would like you to remain a part of our community, human," she said. "Your wisdom, your courage, it has inspired all of us, and Lumo has changed because of you." Elias shook his head gently. "I can't stay permanently," he said. "I have responsibilities on Earth, but I will visit, and I will always be here for Lumo. That bond, nothing can break it." The elder smiled. "Then go with our blessing. Know that you have made a difference far greater than you can imagine." Elias felt a surge of pride and humility. It was not recognition he sought, but understanding. Humanity had a role in the stars, a role defined by empathy, ingenuity, and courage, and through his actions he had shown that even one human could inspire trust, hope, and unity across species. Before leaving the station for a temporary journey back to Earth, Elias knelt beside Lumo. "You'll be safe here, little one," he said. "And I promise, I'll always be your father in every way that matters. We'll continue our adventures. There's so much to see, so much to protect." Lumo's golden eyes glowed brighter, and it hugged him tightly. In that embrace, Elias felt everything: the fragility of life, the power of love, and the endless possibilities that courage could bring. As Elias prepared the shuttle for departure, he looked at the bustling station once more. Aliens and humans moved together, a living testament to the